I think our dreams are an interesting thing. It's a very rich vein of alternate realities that we experience every night.
Every night, I dream the same dream. And then...
He's gone from being someone who was trapped in a gilded cage of his own making and ego-driven as a surgeon to being a selfless superhero, and then from that becoming pretty omnipotent. And I think in this one we find out a little bit more about what the cost is of his prowess in the MCU, and also that his sometimes strength is also his sometimes greatest weakness, which is his determination and will and ego. It can't all be about him, it's got to be sometimes about working with other people.
I become the enemy.
She's, known from the comic lure as being this LGBTQ plus community hero who's, in relation to Strange, is a mystery. He needs to sort of find out who she is, whether he can trust her, and what this ability is, and why whatever is pursuing her for it. I think it's a very rich vein to tap for stories where so many stories have already been told and retold again. And there's no shame in that. I mean, the Greeks were doing it, and after them, everybody else. It was Shakespeare, or what we're doing now with this sort of myth-making in the modern age of the Marvel plots and characters. So I think it's a new way of examining the what-if potential of any character and any storyline. The only challenging thing about that really is just to get outside and see some daylight and a horizon, because it's very weirdly destabilizing, especially when the floor's covered in green or blue as well. Your kind of center of gravity goes off because the references are all just one color and your brain doesn't have fixing points to balance itself a little bit. From the early age of whatever, children are constantly inventing stories with nothing in their imagination. They're talking to themselves, they're playing with toys, they are fully enveloped in that imaginary space, in that imaginary world. And what this reminds you of is how you have to produce your own imaginary worlds at times, or at least see yourself in that world. We do have a lot of previs graphics. We have an amazing kind of storyboard that's often very fully realized, but even if it's just a sketch, you work in conjunction with the special effects department. If I'm doing a certain movement, I say, it would be really cool if we could bring this spell into this moment so that this thing happens from the comic, or something I've done before, or something in conjunction with someone else in the story. Every time you sit in your own audience in one of these films, you're just blown away by the difference between what you thought you were doing and where you thought you were doing it and what is actually happening. And that's great. It means you can still be a fan, even if it is your own film. You can still kind of get lost in it.